Okay, so let's continue system and network administration topic. Okay, right. So let me open my Linux. Right. So last time we start discussing Linux host management. So we discuss the basic commands with command line or the terminal, like who am I, pwd. So then we discuss about the directory structure. So the root is uh, the top level, and all the directories start with root. So for us, the most important thing is home. Under home, there's a folder with your name. That is where you have the full access by default. Then you have the var folder where you have logs and so on, and the bins and libs for software installation, media for mounting drives and so on, pen drives and so on will be bound to that. Then we discuss about the text editors, the VI editor and the nano editor. Okay. Some basic commands with Vim and basic interactions with nano. Right. So other important directories, the boot, that is where the boots related scripts are. Okay. And some important configuration files. This is where your username, password, user related things. Okay. Host, where the IP address to domain name mappings are, just like the host file in Windows. Right? And of course, the initdiff, which is important in boot time configurations. So then we discuss about user management. How do you add a group? Of course, you must have the admin power or sudo power. Sudo group add group name. We discuss this, okay? So then delete a group del, the valid group name. Again, you need to use it with sudo, right? So remember, by default in Ubuntu super user or the root is disabled. Root is disabled, but you can get root access if you have given the sudo power, right? When your user account is created, if you have your user is given the sudo power, by default you don't have the root access, but you can assume like run as administrator. But if you haven't given the sudo power, no, you don't have the that kind of activities cannot be done. So then how to add a user? Use add username. So if you just give the username, say Nimal, so then the username is Nimal, group is also Nimal. So that means this create both username, user and group with the same name, and this user belong to this group. But if you need separate group name, which is already available, so use add -g your group name, which must be already created, and your username. So then that user will belong to this group. Right? User one will belong to group one, assuming that you have already added the group called, right, group. So this is adding user one to the group called user one. This will create both user and group, but this will create uh, the user to this group. Okay. Right. Once you create the user, still that user is not available to you unless you create the set the pass WD password. Right. So whatever the password, now you can log in as that user. or anyone else can log in as that user. So how do you change your terminal? SU, new username, that create you the uh, that now from that point onwards that your login session is with that user. And this is how you give the sudo power to a user, right? So once you give the sudo power to the new user, then that user also can use sudo power. Okay, right. So those things we discussed last time. So let's quickly create a user because we need to play around today. I will log in as my Nalaka user, which is the default user created at the login installation time. I'll get my terminal. I will quickly create a new user because I have already created a user called Aurora. I will create a user called Somerset. Okay. User at Somerset. I need sudo power. That is a password for my account. Right. So that means I have created the user, but still I will not be able to switch to Somerset. Let's try to switch SU Somerset. Right. Password. I have not set a password. Right. So you can see I have not set a password. Right. So therefore I can't authentication failure. Blank password doesn't work. So therefore, once you create a user, uh, now not only user is created, it has created a group called Somerset also, and the Somerset user belong to Somerset group. And now I need to set password also. How to do that? Pass WD Somerset. Again, I need to use sudo. I can set the password. I will set the password also as Somerset. It says it's not strong, but I will just keep it because this is only for demonstration. Right, password updated. Now I can log in using that use, right? SU Somerset. So now I need to give the password of that user account Somerset. Okay, I mistype it. SUMMERSET. No, sorry, I need to switch use again. Earlier I entered wrong password actually. Right, so this is now Somerset user. Right, if I type who am I, it is Somerset. Right, what is the current working directory? Still the current working directory is home Nalaka because I created this using home Nalaka directory and using the Nalaka user. Now let's see whether I can switch to now Somerset user can switch to its home. Right. So how to CD to its home? CD title. So title is user home. So that means /home/Somerset. You can see that by default, when we create a user manually, this folder is not yet created. So that is when you installation time, yes, but you need to create that folder. Of course, if you want to, can give it a different name also, right? So now you can see that the user doesn't have the new user Somerset doesn't have its own home. Okay, so therefore, better we create it or Somerset user create it or Nalaka user need to create this and give full access. Let's see whether Somerset user can create that, right? So let's go to CD. Now, what is the current working directive? Home Nalaka. I will CD one level up. Now print working directory home. Now let's see whether we can create or now the Somerset user can create a folder called Somerset. mkdir Somerset. Right, Somerset. Right. because Somerset user cannot do that. Okay, so let's see whether we can do it using sudo mkdir Somerset. Right, password for Somerset SUMMERSCT. Right, now it says Somerset doesn't have the sudo power, because I remember I created the Somerset user using Nalaka user, but I never give it the sudo power. Nalaka user has the admin power, sudo power, but Nalaka user did not give it to the Somerset user. So therefore, Somerset user can't use sudo power also. So that means it can't create folders. It's use of a sort of helpless. Okay. So let's switch on to Nalaka user and give that sudo power. Right. Now it is Nalaka user. So how to give the sudo power? We discussed that last time also. Right. So you need to give user mod minus ag sudo. User mod minus ag sudo g capital. Right. User mod minus ag sudo. I will use the sudo. Right. User mod minus a capital G sudo. That means giving the sudo power. This sudo is I am using the sudo power to do this. This is I am giving sudo power to which user? Somerset. Okay. Now I have given the sudo power to the Somerset. Okay. Now either I can create the folder. Now let's go and see whether the Somerset user can create the folder. Okay. I will switch user Somerset. So you need to do it like scenarios. Right. Password. Oh, I can have two terminals for two users. Now I'm in the Somerset. Okay. So let's say what is the current working directory? /home. Now let's see whether we can create that. Say sudo mkdir. Now this should have the sudo power anyway. Let's say Somerset. Password Somerset. It looks like now it's working because I have given the sudo power to Somerset. Okay. So now let's see ls. Right. So now you can see there's a folder called Somerset. Okay. Now, I am now with the Somerset user. Let's go to the root cd / say print working directory. Right, I'm in /. Now let's see whether Somerset user can go to the home. Now I am using title. So title means go to the user home. So user home is under home folder with the same name. Right. Now let's see print working directory. Now the user home is there. Right. So by default, the user home is not automatically created. Either the other user need to create it and give the ownership, or if that user has the sudo power, this user also can create the user. Now the title is working. Okay. So now ls no, nothing is there. Now this should be able to touch it. Touch. Say F1. F1 also can't be used. So that means again we need to use sudo. Sudo F1. Sorry, sudo touch F1. So now ls work or ls minus l. Okay. Right. Still you can see the owner is root. Right. Owner is used root. So that is because the user Nalaka has not given the permission properly to this particular user. Right. Ideally, it should have been the user Nalaka need to create this folder under home and give the ownership to the Somerset user. That is the ideal way to do it. Okay, that is the ideal way to do it. Now that is why still this Somerset user cannot even create files without touch, right? Without touch. Okay. So, so let's try to do that also. I will switch back to the Nalaka user. Okay. Now I will make Somerset the own of that one. Let's see whether we can do it. If we can, we are done. Okay. Right. How to do that? How to do that? So there's something called group file ownership. Okay. File ownership. Let's see. It's a ChatGPT. Linux change folder ownership to a different user. Right. CHOWA. Okay. So sudo CHO change ownership to this guy to this folder. Right. Let's do that. Sudo CHOWN. That I need to, let's see whether we can do it using Nalak user. Sudo CHOWN change ownership. Anyway, we have this command later. To which user? Somerset. To which folder? Slash home slash Somerset. And see whether it works. Right. It, I hope now it's working. Okay. Right. So now let's get back to uh, switch back to Somerset. SU Somerset password. Right. So print working directory. Right. So now let's see whether, now let's look at the ls minus l. Right. So you can see the user was root. Now let's see whether we can get access without, remember we needed to use sudo also, right? To touch the file. Now let's see without sudo can we touch the file, because now the ownership is given to Somerset. So this slash home slash Somerset ownership is given to the Somerset user. Now let's see whether we can touch it without any issue. Say touch F2. Now I can touch. You can see earlier I needed sudo power. Now without sudo power, I can do it. Now let's do ls minus l. Now you can see the owner is also Somerset, because now Somerset has the full access. I didn't use, or Somerset user did not use the sudo power to do that. You can see when you use the sudo power to do that, actually it is done by root, sort of a virtual user. But if you have the full access, you don't need sudo power, you can just touch it. And then you are the owner. So this is owner, this is the owner of the file, this is the group owner of the file. This is the group, because Somerset belong to Somerset group. The group is also Somerset. If Somerset belong to something else, group one, then the owner of the file will be that group. Okay, right. Any questions? Because this is these things remember the exam is super hard, right? So don't think that the examiners obvious things. Examiners things that even I may not have thought about, you may not have thought about, because the idea is this is for system administration, right? So you must be expert, okay, in these things. So therefore, don't take this subject lightly. This is one of the toughest subject. This is the technical subject, right? In your this semester, right? Right. So let's get back to our discussion. Now you know how to create a user, give that user the sudo powers, and create a home folder for that user and give the full ownership, CHOWN. Okay. And of course, at any and set the password. And of course, at any time you can delete a user if you have the access. User del -r recursively that particular user. Okay. Right. So we discussed last time also how to get the user details, right? Get ENT pass WD, right? All the details. Now I'll switch back to Nalak user. Get ENT pass WD. So this is now you should have the, yeah, you can see Somerset because that user we created and its home is /home Somerset. Just like we have Aurora user, I created previously /home Aurora. And of course, the Nalaka user, the /home Nalaka. That is the login I'm using right now. So I think last time we created some other users like Nimal, Kamal, user one, user two, and so on. Okay. And if you need specific user details, get TNT pass WT, that user only. Right. Say Somerset. Then you can see only that entry. Right. Anyway, we discussed that last time also. So then if you want to see the groups that particular user belongs to, groups and right groups and say Somerset. So Somerset user belong to Somerset group because I did not specify a group for the Somerset user. Therefore, by default, the Somerset, there's a group also created using the same name. And also we added it to the pseudo group. So that is Nalaka user did that. So therefore, yes, Somerset user belong to pseudo group as well. At any time, you can edit at any other groups or you delete the groups. So then that user does not belong to that group. User can belong to multiple groups. Okay. Right. Access controls. Now, when it comes to access control, so the sudo user has the superpower or the admin power. But other users, if we have added that user to the sudos or sudo power, right? So then that user can also assume the admin power, assume and do things. Okay. So advantage of this using sudo power or giving sudo power is when you use the sudo command only you have that power. By default, you are not the admin. Okay. Pros and cons. The cons is obviously you need to keep typing sudo, sudo, sudo. But very rarely we do that kind of things. Okay. Right. So remember the users have user IDs also. User IDs. So we use the username like Nalaka, Aurora, Somerset. By default, the root user or super user has the user ID 0. And by default, this is disabled in most of the Linux operating systems. So then user IDs between 1 to 99 is mainly for the system users. System users. Okay. So user ID is 100 to 999 is, sorry, User IDs 1 to 99 is mostly for something called uh, pseudo users, which are special system users that activate at the startup time. Then 100 to 999 is also system users, but these system users are mostly created by installation. When you install a software like install Apache, these users are created by your operating system installation type. But these users are created when you install a software. For example, when you install a MySQL database, there will be a user called MySQL. And those system users, which are created by third-party installations, usually they have the user IDs between 100 to 999. So the other users we create using command lines and so on, the admins created, usually their user IDs are greater than or equal to 1000. Okay. So I can't remember exactly how to check the user ID of a user. Let's see. Linux check user ID of a user, because these are possible exam questions. Okay. Right. If you want to check your own ID minus U. So I am now login as Nalaka. Right. So you can see 1000. So why it is 1000? Remember, normal users get something bigger than or equal to 1000 because this is the first normal user. Because at the installation time, I created the user called Nalaka. So then Somerset will be somewhere 1005 or something. Say minus U, say Somerset. Yeah, 1008. That is the eighth user I have created. I think the 7007 is Aurora because I created the user called Aurora also earlier, before your class. Yeah, 1007. Right. So 1000 above are user IDs created by, these are questions. Okay. These are questions. So let's check whether there's a user called root. Yes, that is 0. Okay. 0. Okay. Right. So that is how it goes. So user ID 0 is the root, my super user. Right. Anyway, so when you create a file directory, so you are the owner, you get special privileges. Then your group gets special privileges, and others are the other users. So therefore, every file has, we can define what are the privileges for the owner, what are the privileges for the group of that owner, and what are the privileges for others. 3 levels of access. Okay. So it depends on the concept of user and the group. And of course, admin users are also special users with some powers. For example, sudo group. If you are in the sudo group, you are an admin user. But you can be in some other groups also. At any time, your sudo access can be revoked by your admin. Okay. So so this is very strong system, security system. So that is one of the, remember the two key strength of Linux operating systems are, number one, performance, high performance, right? Especially when it comes to command line interfaces, because it doesn't waste your resources compared to Windows, Apple, Mac, very high performing. The second key strength of Linux is security, very strong security system. If you want to list down some others, another thing is obviously because it's FOSS. You can customize, modify, customize, okay? Mostly free of charge, at least non-enterprise versions. Okay. So those are the advantages. So the performance and security is at the front. Right. So therefore, these built-in superb security system, but there are some additional security systems as well. We can use on top of the Linux standard security model. Right. Standard model means this concept of user, group, giving access, right, pseudo power, and so on. So additional things include pluggable authentication modules, Kerberos. Kerberos, anyway, we are going to look at it under net information system security. It's a sort of a single sign-on authentication system, right? So there's something called file system access control list, and of course the Linux specific things. So we can use all of these, right? We can not only use the built-in Linux security, standard security, we can use any other features available from third parties and so on. Right. So now we move on to file and directory management. So there are different type of files. In Linux, directories are also special type of a file. Right. Even the devices are also considered as files. Devices. Even printer can be considered as sort of a file. Even network connections can be considered as files. So you can write to a network connection or socket connection just like you write to a file. So Linux, think of it as a special type of file where you can write and read. To file also you can read and write. To a network socket connection also you can read and write. Okay. And there's a concept called, of course, pipes are also special kind of a connectivity or accessing. And then there's a concept called links, right? Hard links and symbolic or soft links. Okay, right. We are going to look at some of these. Especially we are going to look at the links. Obviously, we are going to look at files and directory. We are not going to look at these things, but we are going to look at these two and this. Okay. Right. As I told you, when it comes to a file, there are three levels of security. Access control. Owner, group means the owner's group, and others. If you are not the owner, or if you do not belong to the group of the owner of this file, your user is other category. Okay. So then there's a concept called set UID, get UID, right? Set UID, get ID. There's a concept called sticky bit. Right? You should be aware of these things. Okay. Right. If you want to check the file's attributes, you need to use ls minus l, because ls command doesn't show you, right, everything, right? Just the file names and so on. But if you type ls minus l long, it shows you all the details. Okay. Right. So which user I have been logging? Who am I? Right. Nalaka. And where am I? Print working directory. Yeah. I'm in the Somerset home. I will switch back to my home. Okay. Right. CD title. Right. Remember last time we created a folder called SEM525. Let's move on to that. CD SEM525. So we created some files, but I will delete all the files. Okay. How to delete all the files? RM star. Okay. Star. Let's see whether RM star is going to work. Right. It says cannot remove directories, but other files, is it deleted? ls, yes, files are deleted, but it says can't delete directories. Okay, right. If you want to delete directories, rm minus r, let's say star. Right now, if I type ls, it's empty, nothing. Okay, I just clean it up, same 525, so that we can discuss more about file attributes. Okay, so let's touch a file f1. Now, if I type ls, you can see it's file, but if you need more details, ls minus l. Now, this hyphen means it's a file, right? So let's create a directory also, mkdir dir1, or let's say d1. F1 is first file, d1 is directory 1. Okay, right. Now let's type ls minus l. Right, you can see this has d attribute. D attribute means it's a directory. Hyphen means it's a file, and this is the user, and this is the group, because when I create Nalaka user, by default, because I added at the installation time, it has added it to the group called Nalaka. Okay, and file creation times or directory creation times and so on, and files. Okay, right. So we will look at chmod. Remember, I already used change ownership. Similarly, we can use change group, and we will revisit those. And also we will look at what is UMass. That is a very tricky concept to understand. Unless you understand it perfectly, you will completely lost understanding this. Okay. Right. So how to create a file? Just touch it. That is the easiest way. If you want to view a file, you can use cat. Right. If you want to edit, yes, use vi, use nano. But if you want to just see it, use cat. Okay. So let's add something using nano f1. My file is f1. Let's say this is line 1. This is line 2. Right. I will write out. Write out means control O. Right. Yes, f1. Now I'll say exit control X. Now if I want to see the file contents, okay, you can use cat f1. Using cat you can't edit, but you can see in the command line. Okay, cat. Or you can use vi. That is edit again. Okay. I discussed that last time. Right. So we discussed the file directory system. The slash is root. Title is user home. Dot T is current directory. Okay. And when it comes to privilege for files and folders, the three levels is user level privilege, group privilege, and all the others privilege. Okay. Right. So we discussed about ls minus l. Okay. So this is how you list out any specific thing. Right. You don't need to go there to specify. Right. For example, now I am in SEM 525 folder, but if I want, I can say ls slash home. So it has Aurora folder, Nalaka folder, and Somerset. Still, I am in the same 525. Even copy, delete, you don't need to go to that place. If you have the access to that folder, you can stay in the same place and do it, even renaming a file and so on. Okay. Don't think that you need to go there and do it. No. Okay. Right. So when you list directory, as I told you, these are the file access. These first three is, let's do ls minus l. So the first three is owner's privilege. That means the Nalaka user can read, write, and execute this file. Next three is group. Anyone belong to Nalaka group can also read, write, and execute. Any others, they can read and execute, but they can't write. You can see hyphen means write is not there. So that is for directory. For files, for this file, Nalaka user can read write but cannot execute. Anyone from the Nalaka's group can also read write but cannot execute. Others can only read, they can't write or execute. But we can change this. We can change this. Change the access privilege of the owner, access privilege of the group, and access privilege of the others. Of course, you can, if you have the access, if you are the owner, you can change this, but others can't change because this file is created by Nalak user. I can do changes to these access rights, but Somerset user will not be able to even. Uh, Somerset user can come and read this, but Somerset user can't even write, execute it. Execute means run it. And Somerset user will not be able to get the ownership by its own because this is owner is Nalaka. But Nalaka user can give the ownership back to some other user, some other users, some other groups, and so on. Okay. So this is the file size. This is the date of creation, name. This is the number of links. So we will look at this later when we discuss about hard links, soft links. This is number of links to this file. By default, it is one. You see, for files, it is one. Forget about the directory. For files, it is by default one. When you create hard links, it will increment. Okay. Right. So we discussed about touching, cat, nano, right, VI, and we all discuss MKDIR, RMDIR. So if it is empty, you can use RMDIR. That means no subdirectories. But if you have subdirectories, you use RM minus R. Minus R means recursively. If there are subdirectories, delete those also. Okay. Right. So we'll take a small break. So then we'll move on to copy, move, rename. Right. So then the file access. Right. So now it is 7:47. Let's say 7:50. We will start at 8:05. So today we want to finish this. Okay, this topic. Hopefully we can fully finish it. Okay, right. 8:05. Okay, so let's continue. Right, so let's move on to few more. Remember, it's all about file handling, file and folder handling. Uh, so these things anyway, we have done it in semester one also, right? Copy, move, rename. So therefore, you can do it by yourself as well. Okay. Uh, I will not go through each and every one, every command, but you need to go through. But I will just take some samples only. Okay. Right. So let me log in. Right. So I have let's create another subfolder, mkdir. No, we have D1. I will copy F1 to directory 1. CP F1 to directory 1. Directory 1. Right. So now let's go. I don't need to go to the directory 1 to ls. I can say ls D1. And you can see F1 is there also. So that is how you copy. Right. You can copy to some other folder also as long as you have the access to that folder. Okay. Right. So if I want to move, let's delete the F1 in the D1 folder. rm D1 slash F1. rm, the file one in directory 1. Now if I type ls D1, nothing because I have deleted. That is how you copy. Sorry, that is how you delete a folder which is a subfolder. So let's move mv. Remember we have the F1 in our current folder. F1, right? Right now I have the F1. mv F1 to D1. Okay. Now if I type ls, only the D1 folder is there because I have moved the F1 to D1. Now D1 folder must have the F1. ls D1. Yes. Okay. So that is how you move. And if you want to rename something, you move to the same location. There's no separate command for renaming. Okay, so let's touch another file. Touch F2. So that means my current folder, SEM525 also has now F2. Now I want to rename MV F2 to F3. So that means rename it, right? Because it's in the same folder, right? Current folder's F2 file move to F3. So that means F2 will be renamed to F3. Now if I type ls, there's no F2, but there's F3 because F2 has been renamed to F3. Okay, that is how you rename. Right. Remember when you copy directories, use -r so that content inside the directory is also copied. Otherwise, you will get error because directories will have files, subdirectories. So when you copy directories, always use -r unless your directory is empty. Right. So you can copy to the same location. Copy to the same location. So that means you have after this command is executed, and now you have both file1.file.10 new file doc. Copy of this. Okay. So this is copy into a different folders. You can copy multiple files. So these are possible questions, right? So this means copy all these files, main C, demo H, right? And lib, this should be lib.c to backup folder. So this means copy these to this folder. Copy these three files to this folder. Okay. So the last one is the destination. Before the last one, those are files to be copied. And you need to do those things and understand. And if you want to copy all the files, you start in that folder, of course, if you do. This is current folder, everything in current folder, copy it to this particular folder. Okay. So this is copy all the doc files. Copy all the files with doc extension to this folder. And remember, if you have directories in your current location or whatever your source, make sure you use -r. Okay. So then you have the -v option. So that means not only it copy, it shows or it gives details about what it did. Verbose. Verbose means it's talkative. Okay, talkative. Gives you more details. For example, I want to copy F3 to the same location as F4. That means both F3 and F4 must be there. F4 is a copy of F3. CP, I will use it -v, right? F3 to F4. This is not renaming. Renaming means MV. This is copy of F3 must be taken as F4 in the current folder. Now you can see it says F3 is copied to F4 because of -v. Verbose. Okay. Right. If you use -i, especially when you want to overwrite, it will give you it will get your permission before doing it. That is called interactive mode. Interactive mode. Okay. So let's do that one also. Say, now remember if F4 is there already, I will again say CP, but not -v. Okay, if you want, you can have both -i, -i. Remember now F4 is already there. Therefore, it should ask me my permission. You can see override. Yes. So now again we copy it to the same file, right? But it took our permission because we use -i interactive. Right. So this is moving pretty much like copy. Only thing is now the original file is no longer there. File or directory. Okay. These are some other options. So remember, renaming is just moving to the same location. It effectively rename. Right. If you want to remove RM, you can remove multiple files also. But if you're removing a directory, use -r so that it can remove the subfolders and files inside that. So this is removing everything in the current folder. This is removing everything recursively. This will not delete non-empty folders. If you want to delete non-empty folders also, use -r. So just keep it in mind. If your folder has files or subfolders, use -r. If you delete only files or empty folders, you don't need -r. Right. So now we move on to links. So this is something like shortcuts in Windows. So you can create a links to a file. Okay. So let me look at what are the files available here. ls. Right. First, I will delete all these things. Right. ls. Sorry. rm dir. I'll say rm -r star. Now let's ls. Everything is closed. Right. Rm minus star means everything, but make sure rm star means delete everything, but if you need -r to delete subdirectories and so on. Now my folder is empty. I will touch uh, file F1, another one, F2. If I type ls -l, you can see same access privileges and only one link is the one copy of this file is there. That is why it says one. One means there are no links or hard links. Now I am going to create a link, hard link to this file F1. Then I will create a soft link to file F2 also, so that I can explain what is hard link and soft link. So link is just like a shortcut, but soft link is a shortcut. Okay. Hard link is not really a shortcut. Right. So let's see how to create a link. So hard link. So hard link means you are referring to the same files, but it's a separate file also. Independent, but both are referring to the same. So we call it inodes. Right. So you have the inode. Say you refer to it as F1. Now, if you create a hard link to this F1, it's F2. So it's something like both are looking at the same file. Okay. But soft link is not like that. It's just a shortcut. It's just a shortcut. Basically, this one is looking at this. If it is soft link, F2 is looking at F1 and F1 is looking at the file. So soft link is you are not looking at directly at the file. You are looking at the other file, other node. Okay. And it is the actual one that is looking at. But from here, you can control this through this. So it's very important that you understand this. So until you understand, you need to keep thinking. Sometimes if you are lazy, you will feel like, okay, no, I have understood. But when you go to the exams, you will find that no, you haven't understood it. Just because you are lazy, you have thought yourself that you have understood. That is because you are lazy. So this is hard link. You are also looking at the file. Soft link means you are looking at the other hard link. And other hard link is the actual one. Maybe this is the original hard link. This is the original file. Hard link means that link is also looking at the file. Soft link means it's looking at this and it is looking at the file. This is a soft link, this is a hard link. You can have any number of hard links, any number of soft links. Okay. So if it is a hard link, everyone, all those hard links are looking at that. Okay. But if it is soft link, your soft link is looking at your hard link and right, and hard link is looking at the inode or the content. Okay. So the soft link, sorry, this is a typing mistake. It's not sim link, soft link. Let me fix that. Okay, otherwise I will forget it. Typing error. I will upload the updated one. Okay. I just fix it. Okay. Let's get back to a note. So if it is soft link, it just store the path of the original file. Right? If the original file changes, this is also soft link. Okay. And how comes both places I have typed it correctly? Just give me 1 minute, otherwise that will be there forever. Sorry for that. Okay. Right. So if you delete the hard link, still your file is there. Say, you need to understand this. Okay. I will show it practically also. Say this is your original file. And now you create a hard link. Now, if this guy delete this file, say this is F1, your hard link is F2. Say F1 is deleted. Still F2 can see the file. Right? So that is what is the hard link. So originally F1. Then F2 is a hard link to F1. Then F1 delete. Still F2 can access the file. F2 or F3 or any other hard links. But that is not the case in soft link. Say F1 is your file, major link. Then that is F1. Then you create a soft link F2. So then F1 delete the file. Then all of a sudden F2 also can't access the file. Because you are not looking at the file. So therefore file can delete because no one is looking at it. Okay. So that is the difference between hard link and soft link. So inode is physical file. Because when we say create a file called F1, it's symbolic mean. So inode means actual physical file. So when you have a hard link, all these hard links are separately looking at the physical file. That is why when this is deleted, still the physical file is there because others are looking at it. But soft link means you are not looking at the the actual file, you are looking at the hard link. So therefore, when hard link delete the file, this guy also can't see the file. Okay. So these are the difference between hard link and soft link. So hard link refer to the same inode. Soft link refer to your hard link or the original file. File is not a hard link, file reference. So whenever you create a hard link, link count increase. Whenever you delete a hard link count decrease. But when you create a soft link, it doesn't change your link count. Okay, link count is not changed because soft links are not real links. And when you delete the hard inode or delete a file using the hard link, still other hard links can see the file. But when you delete a file and if there are soft links, the soft links will not see the file. Of course, if there are other hard links, still the file is there, but you are referring to that hard link. Okay. So think about this. So this is how you create a hard link. ln link source file your hard link. It's very easy. Okay. Now look at right. So remember I have two files, F1 and F2. Now I am going to create a hard link to F1. Okay. ln right. Your original file, source file name, symbolic file name. So my source file name is F1. This is my hard link. I will call it F1 hard link 1. You can give any name. I just call it F1 hard link 1. Okay. Right. Now if I type ls, earlier both are 1, 1. Now the link count of F1 must be 2 because there's a hard link. Okay. ls minus l. You can see. So this is my F1. This is my hard link to F1. Right. So therefore, hard link to F1 is also looking at the inode now. So therefore, link count is 2 for both. But this is still not touched because it's just a file. I have not created any links. Now, if I want, I can create another hard link to F1. How to do that? I'll say ln F1, F1H L2. That is second hard link to file 1. Now, the link count will be 3. Now, there are 4 files. Why this is 3? Because the original 1 and 2 hard links. This guy is still there. Now I am going to create a soft link to F2. Soft link, not a hard link. So how to make a soft link? You just need to use additional minuses. Right? So here No parameter means hard link. Minus S means soft link. Same command. Right? Say ln minus S. I am going to create it for file 2. I will call it file 2 soft link 1. Soft link 1 to file 2. This is not going to increase the link count because this is soft link. Okay. But you are going to see it as a link. But link count is going to be same, not change. ls minus L. You can see the soft link is there, but still the link count is 1. Link count is 1. Is it clear? Okay. Now let's add some content to F1. Oh, F1, no F1 hard link 1 because all are looking at the same inode. Okay, so let's use nano F1. I will just call it F1. Okay. Control O, Control X. Now I will look at F1 hard link 1. I should see the same content, right? I will use cat because I just want to look at it. F1 hard link 1. And it says F1 because all are looking at the same file. Okay. Now let's do it for the F2. I will again use nano F2. I will just call it F2. Okay. F2. Just add it F2 text. Control O. Write out. Control X. Right. Now I will say cat F2 SL1. F2 soft link 1. Remember, this guy is also looking at the same F2, but it's a soft link. You can see F2 because both are looking at the same thing. Now, shall we edit F soft link? Nano F2 SL1. And you open the same file. I will just call it F22. Control O, Control X. Now I will cat F2. And you can see, yes, soft link can edit. So soft link also can edit. Now F2 can see the change. But only difference is between hard link and soft link. Number one, hard link will increase the link count. Soft link will not increase the link count. If I delete F1, still these two files, these two guys are looking at the inode. But if I delete F2, this is dangling. Dangling means this is useless. It's a shortcut having no destination. Okay, so I will delete F1. Say RMF1. Now ls minus L. Now F1 must not be there, but F1 L1 and L2 must be there. Now still I can cat F1 L1. F1 L1 or L2. Right? So the file is still there because these are hard links. But what happens if I delete F2? Say RMF2. Now if I type ls minus L, now you can see this is red. Shortcut is still there, but this shortcut is now invalid shortcut because this is a soft link. This is not a new, this is not looking at the same inode. So therefore now this is useless. It's sort of over. If I type cat F2 soft link 1, it says no such file. Actually, this shortcut is there, but actually this is invalid now. So therefore, at any time, so best thing is you delete this also because this is useless now. But these are still useful. Okay, so let's delete this RM F2 SL1. Now no soft link because that soft link is now anyway invalid. Is it clear? Right now we have only the two hard links. But two hard links means they are looking at the same inode. The original F1 is not there, but these hard links still work. Actually, these two hard links looking at the same file, same inode. Okay. And I will remove everything. RM star and ls, nothing is there now. Okay. Right. Any questions? So soft link and hard link. Right. So now we move on to access control list. Okay. So there are different type of mechanisms in access control list, but the default approach is user, group, others. And there are alternatives also, but the common or the most widely used approach is user, group, and others. Okay, others. So if you want to see it, you must type ls minus l. Okay, ls minus l. So these are the three access rights: read, write, execute. So if it is a file, just give me 1 minute. Just give 1 minute. Right. So what are the three options? Read, write, execute. Okay. Read, write, and execute. So for files, read means you can read it. For example, you can use cat or nano and read it. Write means you can edit and save. But if you don't have the right access, when you save, you will get an error. You can read it using nano or cat, but you can't save your changes if you don't have right access. Execute means you can run it like a bat file in Windows. But in Linux, you call it sh files. So that means you can run it. It's a program. But if you don't have the execute privilege to that file, you can't run it. Maybe you can read it. You can change it, but you can't run it. Okay. So that is why X is a different thing because this is the dangerous guy for virus and other things. Okay. Okay, just give 1 minute. Right. Sorry for that. Okay. Right. So execute is you can run it. So that is different from read and write. Right. That is different from read and write. Right. When it comes to directories, it's slightly different because there's nothing called running a directory, right? You run a file, not directory. So here read means you can list the files in the directory. That means you can see what are the files in that directory if you have the read direct access. But if you don't have the read access, you can't see the whole sub files. So write means you can delete files in that directory. Right? List files, delete files, or move files into it. Move files into it because you have the right access to directory. You can see completely different concept. So read means list the files in directory. Write means you can delete files, so you can move files into this directory. Execute means you have the right to access the files in the directory, and also you can read the files in that directory. So execute means you can read the files in that directory. Right? Otherwise, you can't read the files. R means you can see the file names, but you can't read the files. If you need to read the files, you need to have the execute privilege for that particular directory. So that's very important, that the way files and directories behaves is different. Obviously, it has to be because files and directories are two different concepts. But the same attributes are used, but different meaning. Okay. Right. So there, remember each folder has three type of access. This is for user, this is for the users group, this is for others. So this means user can read, write, execute. The group can read, write, execute. Others can read, write, execute. So this means user can read, write, execute. Group can't do anything. Others can't do anything. Hyphen means that access is not there. So this means all three can read and write, but no one can execute. Even the user can't execute. Of course, if the user want later, user can get the execution power, but now user has set it to none, even to the user itself, maybe for security reasons. Okay. So you can look at it in different ways. So this is how the human readable approach. But in Linux, remember Linux is for technical guys. Sometimes it is a headache also. You can look at it as this also. So 111, that letter is there means 1. This is 111, 111, 111. This is 110, 110, 110. This is 111, 000, 000. Then you can convert it to base 10. 111 is 7, 7, 7. This is 1, 2, 4. 2 and 4 is 6. This is 6, 6, 6. Another way of writing this is 6, 6, 6. This is 7, 0, 0. This is 111 means 7. So either you can write like this, or you can write like this, or you can write like this. All are the same. Okay. So if you see that for a particular file, the access level is 700, you must know that this is read, write, execute. Nothing, nothing. Okay. For example, if you see that there's a file with read, write, execute 4, 3, and 5. So what does that means? First convert to binary. 1, 0, 0. This is 3. 3 means 0, 1, 1. 2 and 1, 3. 5 means 1, 0, 1. 4 and 5. So that means for the user, read, no write, no execute. Group, no read, but write and execute. Others, read, no write, execute. So when you see that access of a file is 435, that means this is the access level, file or folder. So you must be able to convert this into this and this into this. Of course, that is not rocket science, just binary number conversion. You convert it through this. This intermediary step. Is it clear? Right. Now, if you want to change the permission, say right now the file's permission is like this. Maybe you want to give your group also maybe read and write, or others read. If you have that privilege to do that, of course you can do it. You can change your privilege, your group's privilege, or others' privilege, the privilege for others, as long as you have the access privilege to that. That means definitely if you create that file, you have that access because you are the owner. But others can also do it if they have the access. So how to change the privilege? Use change mode, chmod, change mode. Change the permission of a file or directory. So again, you can use numeric mode or symbolic mode. Remember that 3, 5, 6, and so on. For the exam, you must familiar with all these. Okay. Right. If you use numeric mode, so what does it mean? Chmod 400 to this file. But what is the meaning of that? So let's do it and see. Right. So now this is my ls minus l. Right. So nothing is there now. No files. I will touch a file. Touch F1 and also touch F2. If you want, you can touch multiple files also, like F2 and F3. So that means touch two files. I use the same name. Okay, same name. So therefore, F2 has been overwritten. Say touch F3. Now I have two files, three files. Right now I want to change the access level of this particular F2 file. Right? Say I want to give something like this. Chmod. Okay. Access level and the file name. So access level can be anything between 0 to 7. Maximum is 7, minimum is 0. 0 means nothing. Okay, so I'll give maximum to the owner, that is 7. I will give 5 to the group and I will give nothing to the others. So what does this mean? Then okay, it must be without space. 750 or anything. So any valid combination 000 to 777. Right. So then the file name, I'll give it to the F1. Now what should be the read, write, execute attribute now? Right. 7 means 111. So remember what I have said is 750. 7 means 111. 5 means 4 and 1. 1, yeah. 101. 0 means 000. That means read, write, execute. Read, no write, execute. Nothing. So this is for the user. This is for the group. This is for others. Now let's see. I did it for F1. Earlier it is read, write, no, execute, read, write, no, execute, read only. But now it should be read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute, nothing. Okay, for F1. I have not done any change to F2 and F3. ls minus l. You can see read, write, execute, then read, no, write, execute, correct, and finally nothing, nothing, nothing. So likewise, you can change. Again, if you want, you can say chmod, say 3, 4, 2 to F1. But you must have the ownership of that file to do that. Okay. Whatever the files you create, you are the owner. You can see you are the owner. So you can do these changes. Okay. Now if I log in using Somerset account, maybe I can access this folder, but it won't be able to even read the file content F1. But F2 and F3, the Somerset user can read because read access is given. So you need login and check. You need to log in and see whether you can actually do it. Okay, that is up to you. Is it clear? So that is using the numeric mode. So the other thing is you can use symbolic mode to add and remove access. Right. So if you want to add access, use a plus. Remove access, minus. If you want to specify access, equal. Add, remove, assign. If you want to add or remove, assign to user, that is owner, U. Group, G. Others, O. All of these guys, A. A lot of things to remember. So user means the owner. Group, others, A means all of these guys. Apply that chain to all of these. It's very easy. Actually, this is the easier way to do it. Okay. Right. So let's do an example. Right. So remember now, others can't do anything with F1. Right. Nothing. But I want to give others the read access. How to do that? Chmod, right? Others O plus R. That means add read access to others. To what? F1 file. That means others add read access. Now this should be R now. Okay, so let's execute this and see. ls minus L. Now you can see that earlier read access was not there for others, but now read access is there because I add read access to others. Say I want to revoke write access from everyone. Say execute access from everyone. Of course, this guy, others don't have the execute access, but group and user has. Group has, user has. Both will be removed. How to do that? Chmod all minus execute. Remove execute access from all. All means user, group, and others. Of course, others don't have the execute, therefore it won't affect, but definitely X is going to vanish from use and group and the file name. Now there must not be any X for file 1. Can see no execution power. This execution power is revoked. This execution power is also revoked. Of course, nothing to revoke for the others. Right. So now you should get it. So this means group and others add, read and write. Both group and others add, read and write. Okay. You can combine like that. Plus means add. Minus means remove. Equal means assign that. Remove other things. This is the rights. Okay. That is assign. So let's do assign example also. Say chmod. Say others assign write only. That means the read will be revoked, write will be added, execution is anyway not there. So now only write. Now read is not there. This is not adding. This is the writes now. All the other writes are deleted. Okay. Right to F1. So that means not user, I will call it others. Right. Others can only write now. Now others can't read, they can only write for F1. Okay. But user and groups access is not change. Right. Now you can see others can only write. Read is removed. Write. This is not adding or subtracting. This is privilege. Okay. Yeah, that is what I explained right now, right? Equal. Okay. Equal. That is assigning the specific thing. You are not adding, subtracting. adding or removing. Right. So is it clear? Right. Just give me 1 minute. Right. So then the change the file ownership and group ownership. I already explained that, right? CHOW and chow. Okay. So remember I created that folder /home/Somerset and gave the ownership to the Somerset user. So that is CHOWN. I can do it for any file. So, or I can change the group. So change ownership, CHOWN. So this is the owner now, new owner for this file. Okay, for example, all these files ownership is with Nalaka. I can change it to say Somerset. CHOWN. New owner is Somerset. It must be a valid user to which file, say F3 files. Now F3 files ownership is given to Somerset, but still the group is Nalaka. Because remember, Nalaka, this is Nalaka user, this is Nalaka group. Right. So I need sudo. Okay. So I need sudo power to do that. Sudo. Right. Password. Now let's type ls minus self. Right. ls minus self. Right. Now you can see that the ownership of this F3 file is given to the Somerset user. Somerset user. Because I changed it. Now the owner is Somerset, not Nalaka. But there's a group called Nalaka. Still the group ownership is with that. I can change the group also using same CHOWN or change CHGRP. So this is using the same command to change the group, then colon group name. Right? Say sudo change ownership to Somerset group. I'll give that ownership F2. Still the owner of F2 is Nalaka, but the group ownership is given to the Somerset group. It is not Somerset user, Somerset group. Okay. ls minus L. You can see the group ownership is now Somerset. Still the Nalaka is the user, owner. Or you can change both, user and group both change. Both user and group. That is also possible. Okay, that is also possible. For example, CHOWN, say user is Aurora. I have already created a user called Aurora. But the group is Somerset for the file 1. Currently, both user and group is Nalaka. ls minus L. Now user is Aurora, group is Somerset. Well, F1. Okay. Right. But if you want to just change the group only, of course, you can change the group only using CHOWN also, but there's another command called CHGRP. But here you can't change the user, you can only use the group. So that means CHGRP, the group name, and the resource. You can change the group name, group of the file, folder, anything like that. CHGRP. I will change the group of file 2 to again Aurora. Currently it is Somerset. right? So Aurora resource F2, right? That means I need to use sudo. Now if I type ls minus l, it is group is now Aurora. Earlier Somerset. I use chgrp. You can't use chgrp to change the owner. You can change only the group. But chown you can use owner, group, or both at the same time. Okay. Right. Anything that you need me to explain? Because this is very technical. Okay. Technical means this is not rocket science, but you need to understand. Right. Now we move on to another very tricky concept. Very tricky concept, UMass. A lot of students really miss this. If you don't understand, you really miss it. User mass. So every user has a UMass. Every user, even the super user. Right? So the UMask of normal user is 002. UMask of root is 022. This is called user mass. How do you check your user mass? Just type UMass. UMass. So this is the 00, actually 0002. That is the user mass for Nalak user. Because currently I have login as Nalak. If you want to check user mask of some other user, just type umask, say Somerset. It will be again 0002. Umask mask. Okay. Do we need attribute? Can't we look at the others? User mask. Okay, let me double check. ChatGPT. Check umask of a user. That is current user. That is symbolic format, current user. You can see minus u username umask. You need to use sudo minus u username umask. Sudo minus u, the username I will say Somerset umask. It will be again 0002. Can't. Why is that? Sudo minus u username umask. Sudo minus u username umask. Sudo minus u username umask. Sudo umask command not found. Let's type sudo umask. Right. Let's see without sudo. I don't think this command is correct, right? How can you say sudo minus u? Let's search in Google. Maybe the ChatGPT is also giving wrong answer. Check umask of an user Linux. It looks like that is not possible. Let's see this. That means you need to log in as that user. Okay, so just give me 1 minute. Sorry, I just connected my power cable. So what does ChatGPT say? I didn't get it. Above you have to typically change to that user to check. Yeah, that means we can't, we need to log in and see it, right? Yes, I think that is the case. Yeah, so you can try it, okay? Okay, let's do it. Switch user SU Somerset. Then what is the UMass? It must be the same, right? So when we create a user, the default UMask is 0002, right? 0002. But the UMask of the super user, right? UMask of the super user is not 002. So the UMask of super user is 022, right? So UMask of root account is 022. UMask of any other user is by default 002, but we can change it. So 002 is when you freshly create a user, and if you haven't changed the user mask, it is 002. Okay. For super user, it is 022 unless you have changed it. Of course, only super user can change its UMask. These are the default UMask for the super user, other users. So what are those values? 022 and 002. I am more interested in other users. Okay. Right. So the next thing is there's something called default access. Default access for file is 666. That means read, write, no execute. Remember 6 is 110, 110, 110. Read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute. Default access for directory is 777. So this is very important to remember. So therefore, when you create a file, it use default access minus your mask, not the default access. Right? For example, this is very important to understand. Okay. Say, I have not changed my user mask. So therefore, my user mask is 002. Forget about the previous zero. Let's type ls. Right. I will delete all the files now. rm star. Remove write protected regular empty files F1. Yes. Permission denied. I'm in Somerset folder, right? Sorry, Somerset user. Let me switch back to Nalaka. SU Nalaka. Okay, ls Sorry. Now only I'm in the prompt. SU Nalakan. Nalakan. Because Somerset user don't have access to a lot of files. Right. ls, and I will delete all. rm star because no folders. Now nothing is there. Let me touch a file. Touch F1. This is a file. Now look at what is the what is the file permission. ls minus l. What is the default file permission? 666. 666 means what? Read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute. Okay. But it is not read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute. Remember the default for file is this. Read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute. But what I got is read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read. So the reason is this is the default for file. But my user has a mask 002, therefore it must be subtracted. Subtract separate. 6 minus 2 is 4. This is still 6. This is 6. So this means read, write, execute. Read, write, execute. This is read, write, no execute. Sorry, not read, write, execute. No read. Sorry, read, no write, no execute. Only 4. Right? Only 4. So 6 is also okay. I made a real mess of it, right? So 6 means 4 and 2. 1, 1, 0. 6 means 1, 1, 0. 4 means 1, 0, 0. 1, 2, 4. This is 4 plus 2, 6. That means read, write, no execute. Read, write, no execute. Read, no write, no execute. Right. It is the default access minus the mask is your access. Read, write, no executes. Read, write, no execute, only read. That is 666 minus 002. So then what about folders? Default for folders is 777. But my mask is 002. You subtract it. 7 minus 2 is 5. So therefore it will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1. 4 plus 1, 5. So that is read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute. That will be the default access for folder for a normal user with mask 002. Let's create a folder. mkdir. So what happened to my this one? mkdir. Say D1. Now look at this. ls minus l. That is read, write, execute. Correct? Because 777 minus 002 is 775. That is read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute. And read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute. Correct. So why is it? Because default access for directory is 777. But currently my Nalaka user's mask is 002. Therefore 777 minus 002 is 775. That means 111111101. Therefore it is read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute. But for files, default mask is 666. So then 666 minus 002 is 664. That means 110, 110, 100. That is read, write, no execute, read, write, no execute, read, no execute, no write. Okay. So that is how you get those default values. But if you change your default mask, it's a different story because you can change your default mask. Okay. Then when you create a file, its initial access level will be different. Its initial directory access level will be different because this is your current user mask or default user mask when you just create a user, but you can change it. You can change it. How do you change the default user mask? Or how do you change the user mask of a user? So you can change it. So remember, if you want to check your user mask with details, type umask minus capital S. This is umask. This is umask minus capital S. It's more descriptive. Read, write, execute. Okay, let me keep this. Okay. Fine. Let me delete only this. Fine. So you can see read, write, executes, read, write, execute, read, no, write, execute. That is what happens. That is what is mean by user mask 002 user mask mean. Okay. That is 666. That is actually for files, not for folders. So 666 minus 002, that is 664, that is 111. Sorry, not 111. No, right? How do you get read, write, execute? No, write, execute. That means you are removing two. You are removing two means you are removing right. Yes. So read, write, execute. 0 means read, write, execute. Read, write, execute. But 2 means you have removed two. Middle guy. Middle guy remove means read and execute only. Yeah. So that is the symbolic mode is you need to read in different way. Right. But easier thing is just numeric mode because that is your default for the file minus that. Default for the folder minus that. Okay. So I think easier to look at the numeric value rather than symbolic value. Okay. Right. So that's it about UMass. You can change how to change the UMass. I forgot to mention about that. If you want, you can change user mask of a user. Okay. How to do that? You can do like this. UMass for user at W. For user, remove execution. For group, the mask is R. For others, add write. You don't need to write all the things, right? So that means you change your user mask, right? User mask. For example, my user mask is currently 002. I can say umask. Okay, umask say user add read, oh sorry, execute, read, write, execute. Only for user. Right. Now let's check the umask. Now umask is different for current user. Why not? User execute. Still 002. Why is that? Let's remove. Minus execute. Now you must, right, because nothing to add because 0 means everything is given. Remember, see, remember in symbolic mode you can easily see, right? So for example, you must minus capital S. So for example, user read and write is already there. So no point me saying, but I can say now here I can't add anything because already I have given everything to the group according to my mask, but I can remove. I can say UMass group minus say right. So that means my group is going to be R and X only now, according to UMass. UMass say minus S, capital S. Now it must be read and execute only for group. I have not changed the user and others. Okay. You can see no right because I remove the right from the group. You need to read the UMass differently. Right? This is a mass. මාස් එකක් කියන්නේ වෙස් මූණක්. වෙස් මූණ දාගෙන බැලුවම පේන්නේ ඉතුරු ටික. වෙස් මූණෙන් වැහිලා අනිත් ටික. මාස් කරනවා කියන්නේ ඒකයි. Remember the we use similar concept in networking, subnet mask. So routers look at the IP addresses where in the mask so that it can see the subnet ID, not the host ID, individual host machines. So similar concept here, okay? First of all, you must know what is meant by mask. If you have understood subnet IDs, subnet masks, now you can understand this very easily. Okay? Right. So that's it about file management, UMass, user management, group management, access. Okay. Right. Now we move on to our next subtopic, process management. So remember, process is running program. Running program. Even in Windows, we have processes. Right. For example, if you go to Task Manager, so these are the currently running processes. How much of memory is used, how much of you can see my computer memory 98% use. Right, I'm using my computer is now like devil. Okay, because so many Zoom is using right, so many. Look at my memory usage, right? Almost 100% is used. Almost. But CPU is okay, but memory. Right. Anyway, so that is why sometimes it crash. All of a sudden blue screen. Okay. Hope not it won't come here today. Right. So process is running program. So remember we discussed about daemons. So those are the initially running program. So the process ID 0 is given to that init process because that is the initial process that start boot up. We discussed, right? So range of process IDs for daemons, others, and so on. So process is running program. And process have process ID, PID. Right? Lower process ID for system process. 0 is for the init. Then you have parent process ID because process can start another process. If X process start Y process, then Y process will have its own PID and its parent process ID will be the process ID of X. Okay. So then every process has a user who run it. Remember, users also have UID. Remember, the root user has the 0 UID. And there's another concept called effective user ID. I can't exactly remember what is the difference, but you better check that because this can be a question in the exam, right? Just check what is the difference between UID and EUID. Right now, I can't remember exact thing. Okay. So similarly, group ID and effective group ID. Then there's a niceness. Niceness is something like priority. In Windows, we call it priority. In Windows, higher the priority, you get more resources. That process get more resources. In Linux, it is called niceness. Higher the niceness, you get less resources because it's not priority, it is niceness. So if you need more resources, you must be having less niceness. Your process must be having less niceness. Less niceness means you request more resources. It's completely opposite, right? From Windows. Windows, higher priority means more resources. In Linux, lesser niceness means you get more resources. Okay. And also, your process is bound to a terminal unless it is a daemon. From which terminal you started that process. So remember the init systemd. So those are the initial processors. Basically, process PID 0. Okay. And also process can start other processes and so on. So this is the life cycle of a process. Very important for exam. Different situations. So process can be suspended as well. Suspended means temporarily stopped until again it's like sleeping. Until you awake it again. So then again it start executing. Okay. So if you want to monitor the processors, remember in Windows, we do it like this. Task manager. You can see you can organize by memory usage, CPU usage. Right. If you want to forcefully, you can stop a process, end task. Right. In Linux, you just need PS command. Okay, PS command. Right. So we have much more to finish, right? So today we will not be able to finish it, right? Right. We'll take that in the next class. Right. Next class. Process handling, the find command, cut command, because this is the biggest topic. Other topics are not this big. Okay. And how to install the software using RPM, PKG. Right. We'll take those. We need another half a session to finish it. Okay. Half a session. Uh, right. So next week we'll more concentrate on again non-technical topic, because this week we 100% concentrated on technical topic, right? System and network. Maybe we can concentrate more on, and also we want to start maths also. Possibly we can start maths next week, hopefully. Okay. Right. We stop at this point. Right. Thank you.